All right, we're live, and today is another episode of Helping the Brave. I'm here. I'm your host, Ed Parco. Sorry, a little under the weather today. Had my second vaccine shot yesterday, and a little under the weather today. Hey, and my other host is Chloe. How you doing, Chloe?
I'm doing well. How are you guys doing today?
I'm doing excellent. How about you, Jimmy?
I'm doing great.
All right, our guest today is Jimmy Rogers, and you are part of Boots for Troops. Is that correct?
I am. I am the founder of Boots for Troops.
Okay. Why don't you give us a little background on you, and then we'll get into your charity.
Okay, well, I'm born and raised Texan, a little town called Tomball, just north of Houston. Grew up here in Texas and joined the military when I was 23 years old. So I didn't join right out of high school. I had a few years to make a few mistakes, and then decided I wanted to change my life. So I joined the Navy in 2011. Spent 4 years on active duty. In 2015, I was deployed with the USS Theodore Roosevelt, and that on that deployment is actually where I started and founded Boots for Troops. But just about me, I'm just a entrepreneur at spirit. I love sports. I'm a homer. Rockets, Astros, Texans. Yeah, just an all-American guy. At least I like to think I am.
All right. So you said while you were on deployment, you started your. What did you see that was the need there? Because I know I hear a lot about people on deployment and stuff they need they don't have.
Right.
What brought you to that?
Well, there was a few things that made me decide to start the charity. Number one was I knew I was separating after that deployment, and I wanted to stay connected with the military in some way. So charity was already on my heart. And then when I was deployed, I was lucky enough to receive care packages from back home from my family, and they were always really cool care packages. A lot of people in my work center, the people that I worked around, didn't receive anything, didn't have family back home that were sending them anything. And when I realized that there was nothing more important when you're deployed than to hear from family or get something from home, or the impact that it made was huge. So we got a few care packages from another organization, and then another thing I realized was maybe the American people just weren't educated on what exactly troops overseas wanted or needed. And they would mass produce care packages and just throw a bunch of overstock items in a box and send it overseas. And I was like, when we'd open the box, we're like, why are they sending this stuff that we don't really want? Like half the stuff would be thrown away in trash. I started thinking, we claim to be the greatest country in the world. We're Americans, right? We come from the greatest country in the world. We should be sending the greatest products and the greatest stuff, the best stuff to our troops while they're serving overseas and defending freedom and defending our country. And, so after a few days of thinking about it, I decided to launch Boots for Troops, which was a care package program that would send, number one, it's personalized. We individualize each care package to one person. We don't mass produce. We don't get a roster and send the same 50 packages. We actually get to know each service member and what their favorite sports teams are, what they're missing from home. Do they need anything in particular? And we build a box just for that person. So when they receive it, it's full of everything they asked for or what they need. And it's very special. So the impact that it makes is much greater than just throwing a bunch of stuff in a box and sending it overseas.
So I think back to my deployments. I'm always super grateful, but when people send chocolate, I'm always like, was this chocolate at some point in time? I probably was.
Not when you got it.
That's super cool. So, how was your experience in the Navy and transitioning out? Yeah.
Well, for me, Boots for Troops was so huge in my transition. It gave me something to do. And so it's I don't know how much y'all know about the backstory, but I wrote a GoFundMe page on the Roosevelt while I was in the Gulf, trying to raise the money for the startup. And we didn't have one donor, one follower, one supporter. It was literally just an ideal. And we raised $5,000 in 45 days on the GoFundMe. So that got me excited. And I came home probably 2-3 months later, and I went right into fundraising and, trying to educate myself on the nonprofit industry and how to grow the organization. So it kept me busy. So when I transitioned, I didn't come out like, oh, what am I going to do next? I was working for Scott's Miracle-Gro at the time when I transitioned, and I was building this charity. So I was so busy, which was important. I think that's important for any veteran. or anybody coming out of the service, if you give them too much time on their hands and not have nothing to do, they go from having this purpose every day they wake up, they have something to do, they know where to be, to, oh my gosh, I have all this freedom. For me, it was just, I had so much to do and I was so busy. It was just beautiful, honestly.
So I similarly was looking at starting a nonprofit, and it seems like just such a ginormous project. So how did you kind of get into reading, like what, like I know IRS filings are different. There's a number of other rules that need to be followed. So how did you kind of get into that?
It's honestly, I like to say it was like God's plan for me, to be honest, just because I never dreamed I would be in it, but I'm very entrepreneurial spirited. I have a degree from American Military University in entrepreneurship. So once I did the GoFundMe, which was kind of like a off the cuff thing, I just did it one night and it worked. So then I started just educating myself. I started reading books on the industry, taking classes on the industry. I self-taught myself a lot, but I also had mentors, people that I called and talked to and helped me and consulted me. But it's a lot of work and a lot of studying. It's kind of nerve-wracking because there's the nonprofit, like people are they're very judgmental of it. So you want to make sure you're doing everything the right way. And so you can gain the loyalty and the respect and the credibility, I guess, from the, public and the American people.
Yeah,
reading
of all of it.
Yeah, all of it.
And then hire an accountant.
Oh yeah, we have a CPA that we keep on retainer for sure.
So how about you tell us a little bit about how, like, you personalize and reach out to those service members? Do they contact you? Do you contact them? Like, how does that kind of work?
So originally I was sending care packages to my friends that I served with, and that was back in probably like 2011. But this thing just took off like a rocket, and people, once somebody got a care package from Boots for Troops, which, by the way, every box comes with a new pair of boots for the service member. So they actually choose a new pair of uniform or combat boots that go in the box with everything else that they want. But once it hits a command, they're like, man, where did you get that care package? That's literally the most awesome care package I've ever seen. And they're like, well, I got it from Boots for Troops. So it just started spreading like wildfire. And the service members can go to our website and they can request a package through our website. So we get requests on a daily basis, thousands and thousands of requests a year for our packages. And so when the request comes through, we have a program manager that reaches out, sends them a form, which is a form that lets us know a little bit more about that service member, where they're at, what they need. Is there any specific items they're missing from home? And it allows us to, and then they send the form back and it allows us to go and shop and find those special items for each service member. So we have no shortage of requests. Everything goes through our website, and that's kind of how we start the connection between us and the service member.
Got it. That makes a ton of sense. Did you get so you attended American Military University. Did you get your degree while you were on active duty, or was it something you pursued afterwards while juggling Boots for Troops?
I started on active duty. When I got to my first command, I'm sure you guys are familiar with tuition assistance, TA. Once I was fully qualified in my work center and an asset to the work center, they allowed me to use tuition assistance. So I got my associate's degree while serving on active duty at Tidewater Community College in Virginia, and then I pursued my bachelor's degree after leaving the service. College has always been something I've wanted to. A lot of people that know me are in my network. They're like, man, you're not even going to use your degree. You're already successful in what you do. But for me, graduating college was always something I wanted to do personally. Nobody in my family had ever done it. So I think there's a lot of value in education and finishing something you started. So that was important for me.
Yeah, do you got any questions?
I'm trying to fix my mic. Any better now?
Slightly, but
sorry, I can't help it today. One of those days. All right, I'll let you handle it all today.
Okay, great.
You sound fine. I can hear you pretty clearly.
All right, so it must be Chloe.
Yeah, I can hear you clearly.
All right, so it must be Chloe wanting me to get off the air so that you guys could have your private talk. She just had to come in, take over, be in charge for once. Right.
I was wondering where you went.
Solid 5 minutes.
She
That's all I
texted
needed.
me. She said, "Your mic, you're horrible. Get off." And I'm like, "Okay, I'll get off."
I disagree.
Anyway, I heard a lot of that, but so, and a lot of it I missed. I apologize. But one, with what do you need now? Did you talk about what you need going forward with help for your charity? Have you talked about that yet?
No, we haven't. No. Well, we can always. We have what's called a most requested items list. So these guys and gals that send back their request forms, a lot of them request a lot of similar things like beef jerky, protein, things like that. So we have a list of like the top 10 most requested items, and people can literally go on Amazon, or they can ship jerky or any of these items to our organization's headquarters, and we call them stuffers. So after we put all the special items in the boots, we fill the rest of the box with quality items that everybody asks for. So that's what we need all the time. Obviously, monetary donations are always good. You can adopt a service member yourself. We can literally give you a request form from a service member, and you and your family, or you and your office, or whoever, can kind of do a team building activity and adopt a service member yourself. So if you go to our website, there's a Get Involved tab, and if you drop down, there's all the different ways you can get involved and help out the organization.
What's your website?
It's www.boots4troops.org. I think the really cool thing about our organization is, you got a service member overseas who's literally still in uniform and decides he wants to start an organization. And a lot of these foundations and charities are started with, celebrities or people that have, money behind them. The cool thing about us is we literally started as a GoFundMe page, and over the past 5 years, with people all over the country, we've grown this thing into almost $1 million a year charity, where we have some of the biggest companies in the country behind us. You're talking about Walmart, Home Depot, the major Western wear stores in Texas, Ford, Service King, just major brands that are all over the country, and so many companies and so many people involved. And it literally started as a GoFundMe page, and we impact probably 12 to 1,500 service members a year through our programs, and we're continuing to expand our programs to do more things. We recently started a program where we fly guys and gals home to their hometowns during the holidays or emergency leave. So you have to be E4 and below, but if you're an E2 and you want to go home for Christmas and you're married and you got 3 kids, that buying 5 plane tickets there and back is not affordable, so they don't go home, right? Well, we got a program where we sponsor families and service members to go home for Christmas, emergency, death in the family, and we pay for the entire flight there, entire flight back, never ask them for a penny of it back. So we really like to focus on active duty. There's a lot of veteran organizations that are supporting our vets as they come out. We are an organization that focuses on active duty and keeping their morale high. And we do a lot of things with the USO, put on concerts at bases. So there's a really cool story behind our organization, because it was such a grassroots startup.
Did you fully tell us all that story, or is there more to that story?
Man, yeah, there's a lot more. There's a lot more to it.
It's only been 13 minutes. I don't want to break. I'm sure you talk a lot if you had a beer in your hand or something. But I'm just saying, it's tell everybody more. Everybody wants to get to know. They're here for a reason. They're here to know about your charity. Before you get going, I never asked. Chloe, have you been deployed?
I have twice.
And what was the one thing you needed that you didn't have? Or was there?
It was always dumb stuff, right? So it was always like, for some reason, every military exchange carries like Irish Spring soap. Like, I don't know if anyone uses it, but it's like super dries out my skin. And then in tandem with that, it's 120 degrees outside. So dry skin is the usual. Would I prefer like excess specific type, or lotion, or chapstick, or lighters that work? Would have been nice.
Right.
But yeah, there are those. And Jimmy and I were talking, and I was like, care packages that have chocolate in it terrify me.
And that's the thing, is like people literally somebody will send in stuff to donate to the boxes, and it's like razors with one blade. we literally will not send that. Like we will not send anything that's not quality. That's what we pride ourselves in. That's what we're known for. Everything in our box is going to be like the best quality, top-notch items for our troops. And that's what we are known for. And we're not going to shy away from that. It's nice that people want to give, but we're just not going to send cheap stuff to our troops.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than shaving with a bad razor.
Yeah, it's soap. I mean, like she's completely right. We try to send the best quality soap too, because exactly like you just said, they won't use it. If they get it and they don't like it, they're just going to throw it away, or it's going to sit in a box and never be used. So,
yeah, it's not.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, there's a lot of I'm thinking back to my my last one of just like there's stacks of Girl Scout cookies.
Right.
And I'm just like, thank you, but why? Like I appreciate the thought and the gesture 100%, but like there was literally no room to put anything else. Like we had it was just this thing that was there. You grabbed it if you could, and if I was unfortunately on the night shift, which meant mid-rats, right? Which is commonly not known for being great.
Navy?
Marine Corps.
Okay.
So worst chow halls in the Navy, if you can imagine that.
Yeah. I hear that.
But, yeah, to Jimmy's point, right? Like quality socks are another one that come to mind. Because when you're walking around all day, it's a half mile to the DFAC and back. Like,
right.
Hanes socks just don't cut it.
Absolutely. And we partnered with one of the largest military surplus suppliers in the country called U.S. Patriot Tactical. We do a lot of socks. We get all of our boots from them, and then our socks too. So it's all about quality for us. It's not about necessarily quantity. We're not trying to send 1 million care packages. We're trying to send the best care packages that make the biggest impact. So, I feel like I don't want to be that jerk, but sometimes people just want to punch numbers and say, well, we sent 200,000 boxes. Well, how many of those boxes made a real impact on the service member? Or, compared to our boxes where we literally, we send exactly what they want and need, what they're asking for. We try to really make that personal human connection and show that we actually care about that person individually. So you should see the testimonials we get back. If you go to our Facebook page and read them, we've got people saying they've been in the military 14 years. They've never seen anything like it. It's the greatest thing they've ever received while they're deployed. So the morale boost is through our program, our care package program it's enormous.
Have you thought about reaching out to all the other people who send care packages and say, hey, let us help you send what you need, what these people really want to help out? Because I know there's a lot of places who send those care packages, but just like you said, they might not send what the people want. They just want to send a care package and say, that's what we did. But for how successful you've been in what you've done,
I've thought about it. It's like what Chloe said. It's not to take away we're grateful for for them sending them, right? But why are you sending so many Girl Scout cookies, or why are you sending melted chocolate? Or I think it really just boils down to, I speak a lot about it at events and doing other podcasts and newspaper. Anytime I get a chance, I try to educate the American people on exactly what I'm telling you guys is, understand what our troops want and need, and let's send them the best stuff. So I've thought about reaching out to other organizations, just never really done it. There's some local charities here like Blue Star Moms. I don't know if you guys ever heard of Blue Star Moms. They're a national charity. They have chapters all over the country. They send care packages, and I've worked a little bit with them. And one of their board members is a big volunteers a lot with us, and I think she's kind of learned through our program how to make their packages better as well.
Do you find that with how you look at other people that also do similar things, that a lot of it comes down to the type of deployment, right? So I can pack to go to the desert any day of the week.
Right.
You tell me I have to go to the mountains, and I'm gonna go, Bert.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the great things about our program is literally on that form it tells us where they're at and what they need exactly. So we're not just stuffing stuff in a box and sending it. We know if you're in the desert or if you're in Alaska, I guess that's not really deployed, but the different climates around the world, right? So we can build your individual box based on your needs.
Sometimes of the year in Alaska, it feels like you're deployed.
Probably.
No, my son's up in Anchorage right now, so it snows a lot during the winter time there, and it's dark. Right, you only get about 4.5
Isn't it
hours
dark? Like
sunlight.
most of the day's dark, and then it's only daylight.
Yeah, so basically we went there and visited him in December, and it was the sun came up at 10 and went down at 3:45.
Oh wow,
And
that's rough.
Yeah, because then you're like, you feel like it's time to get up, but you look out and it's dark out, and then you get to 3 and then it gets dark out at 4, and you're like, okay, what time is it really? So for us, I was like, there's no way I could live here in Alaska just because of that part of it.
Yeah, imagine being on a submarine.
Ugh.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
I visited a ship once. I was in the Navy. That was enough for me. So.
Yeah.
I praise and thank every submariner on the face of this planet because I will never do that.
I could never do it. I don't think I could do it. I don't say that very often, but I don't think I could do that. I don't know.
Yeah, that's just a whole lot of nope for me.
Yeah.
And you got any questions?
If I did, so the problem, I missed like 10 minutes of it, so I don't know everything you guys talked about.
I don't know if y'all brought me on to talk about just the charity, or was it talk about me as a veteran, or what? But
all that.
Everything. I mean, there's if I could be an inspiration to any veterans out there that may be watching, as I told you guys, I spent the first 5 years after high school pretty much throwing my life away, doing nothing with my life, and I had created a lot of issues as a young man for myself, and the military actually helped me turn my life around. So I was actually couch surfing, living on friends' couches, really going nowhere fast, and decided I was going to make a huge change in my life and try to be somebody. So that's when I joined the Navy. And 10 years later, I did my 4 years. I did my 4 years of active duty. I have a bachelor's degree. I started this charity, which is a huge, successful charity. We've helped thousands and thousands of troops. And outside of that, I've also started 3 other small businesses that are very successful and profitable. So through a lot of hard work and determination, no matter where you're at in your life, you can turn it around and become somebody. And I know the military is a great way for young people who may think they don't have all the resources they need to be successful. The military will give you those resources. It will help you get you to where you want to be if you're willing to put in the time and the effort. So I'm a classic American dream story, kind of going nowhere fast, had a lot of issues, kind of homeless, but living on people's couches, like literally living on people's couches, and bumming rides to work just to make a little bit of money to have a little bit something to eat. And within 10 years, I've been able to accomplish all that I've accomplished. But I changed my mindset, and I was determined to be somebody. And if there's anybody listening or watching, like, it's definitely possible.
So how close were you to getting out when you started Boots for Troops?
I was literally in probably the last 4 or 5 months of my service. Like that deployment that I went on, we left in March. I was getting out in, I want to say, August. They actually flew me home two months before the deployment ended. So very close. So my mind was already brewing, like, what am I going to do next? Like,
that's what I was just about to ask you. Is like, had you not come up with that idea? Like, what did you have a plan, or what was it?
I did. I had a plan to open a boot store because I'm from Texas, and I always wear cowboy boots. And a lot of the guys I started with was like, man, where do you get those cowboy boots? I want some cowboy boots like that. So I literally typed up an entire business plan to open a Western wear store in my hometown. And when we came back from deployment, I found out that they just opened a brand new boot barn in my hometown. So I was like, well, there goes that. I'm not going to compete with Boot Barn. But luckily I'd written the GoFundMe. So I was like, you know what? I'll just share my passion for boots with the troops and, Boots for Troops. So yeah, it was just that my brain was already thinking about what I was going to do next on that deployment.
Because of what you don't know is Chloe's really big on getting her people to think about the transition a year before they get out, to make sure they know, even if they decide to re-enlist, to make sure they know what they're doing a year out, so that way they can plan better. That's why she was asking me that.
That's huge, and I'm a big advocate for that because I actually started planning when I signed up. So I knew what I wanted to go to the military for. I wanted to go to college. I wanted to straighten out my life. When I joined the military, I had bad credit. I probably had a 580 credit score when I joined the military. Came out with like a 720 credit score. I remember being in A school, and they called me down to the security clearance officer of the base. So he was like, "Hey, you have all these credit issues. If you don't start fixing your credit, they're going to take away your security clearance." So he sat down with me for hours, and we called every person I owed money to and set up a payment plan, and ended up paying off all my debts. And was able to buy a vehicle. And like I said, I went in with a 580 credit score, came out with like a 720. Was able to buy my own house. Pretty much use credit for anything I want to use credit for now. So I went in, but back to what you were talking about, having a plan, and I see so many of these young guys going after high school. They haven't experienced the real world yet, so they don't understand the hardships and how ugly and nasty the world can be. And they waste their 4 years. They don't plan and set themselves up to transition out and be successful. So have a plan. Use the military for everything they'll let you use them for when it comes to college and educating yourself on anything or qualifications. I think it's big. I think all of us veterans should advocate for that earlier planning.
Hey, Jimmy, there's a comment for you. There's other parts of the country that don't have boot stores, so someone's telling you you can open them in other places.
That's very true. But I told my mom when I left I was coming home in 4 years, and she wanted me back home. So I guess I could move somewhere in Texas. I don't know. Texas has a lot of boot stores.
So what businesses did you start?
So I own a company called Valor Apparel, which is a apparel line. It's we do have a little bit of a retail line, some of our own designs, but most of the revenue is made through wholesale. So we do a lot of screen printing and embroidery for local businesses, events, benefits. And that was the first small business I started outside of Boots for Troops. Later, through putting on so many charity events and fundraisers, I started a company called Valor Entertainment, which we do sponsorship acquisition, special event planning, event consulting. We can run your entire corporate Christmas party. So that was the second business. And then just recently, about 3 or 4 months ago, launched Valor Tickets, which is a ticketing platform, kind of like Eventbrite, where you can sell your tickets on our website to any event, golf tournaments, concerts, galas. So they all kind of tie into each other, but starting the charity really was a gateway to me learning all those different skill sets.
So I noticed on your website that you have something called Shoot for Troops.
Shoots for Troops.
Yes, Shoots for Troops. That's what it is. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's a new venture we started last year. So clay shootings, I don't know if you guys know what clay shooting is, but one of the biggest clay shooting organizations in the country reached out and said, last year I was at a dinner in West Palm Beach, Florida, a charity dinner, and sharing information about Boots for Troops. And this lady said that she had an idea. It was actually a father and a daughter had an idea to, at these big clay shooting events, they wanted to, instead of paying judges and referees to referee the shoots, they wanted to bring veterans in to referee the clay shoots. In return, and instead of paying the person to do it, they made the donation directly to the charity of their choice, or the host charity that was providing the volunteers. So basically, when they have a clay shooting event in, let's just say, Chicago, we go as a charity, we go in and recruit veterans in that area, and they come out and they take a one-day training on how to be a judge, and then they volunteer their time to judge the clay shoot, and that club makes a donation to the charity for their time instead of paying somebody to do it. So you got to think, if there's 40 referees, judges, and they're all getting a $250 pay per day, that $250 times 40 would go to the charity. So that gives a veteran an opportunity to come out and volunteer and give back to a military charity. And also, veterans like being that sport, and a lot of veterans are in that sport, and they like being around the shooting and the competition. So we do a couple of events every year with them to help raise money.
I mean, there is truly almost nothing more satisfying on the planet than hitting a clay pigeon with a shotgun. That's my bias, but
man, I wasn't really into it until they brought me out and took me on this tour and had me, shoot. And I was like, man, it's actually a lot of fun, and it's kind of relaxing, and it's like playing golf. I like to play golf, but clay shooting is kind of the same thing, where you get when you're clay shooting, you're not thinking about anything else. So there, I guess.
Yeah, but clay shooting is a little bit easier than golf.
I would agree. Golf is super frustrating.
I stopped playing because I played military golf. Left, right,
Oh, you did?
left, right.
Golf and I have a love-hate relationship. Sometimes it's fun. Sometimes I want to slam my club down and never play again.
You're
a thrower.
I'm a hacker.
The only type of golf I do now is Top Golf, because they let you drink while you hit a ball.
There you go.
You can do the same thing out on the course.
Yeah.
Gotta have your cigar and your drink at the same time.
I used to make fun of golfers because I grew up. I was a basketball player, so I'm like, man, people who play golf are wusses. Man, I tell you what, you play 18 holes of golf, you're exhausted. Like you're dead. And we get to drive around in golf carts. Imagine the real golfers on TV that have to walk the entire course. I take back everything I ever said about Tiger Woods.
It's just very mental, right? It's all physical up front and mental, and it switches. So
for sure.
It is a unique sport, but unless you practice all the time, it's like shooting unless you practice shooting, right? So.
Yep. For sure.
All right. So I'm going to be Mohawk Matt right now. What did you learn from the military that you still use today?
Man, that's a lot.
It's just one thing.
One thing. Structure. Hard work. Sorry, I put hard work over structure.
Well,
military make you work hard. Huh?
I think structure is important because you were in the military, you had structure, and if you don't have it when you get out, it's very difficult to do everything you want to do.
Yeah, and when I say structure, I don't just mean having discipline and getting up on time and things like that. I use structure I'm very detailed in everything I do, from my events to my businesses. I'm very structured in everything, which the military taught me to pay attention to detail. Every little thing's important. You guys know in boot camp when you're stamping your skivvies, if they say 2 inches, it's 2 inches away. So that you can that's how I live and do my business now. Is like everything's very detailed.
They say if you can't deal with the small stuff, you can't deal with the big stuff.
That's true. Very true.
If there was one thing you could go back and redo in regards to your transition, or do again, or do better, what would it be?
Spend more time with my family. When I first got out, and my wife, I got so infatuated with wanting to continue to be successful and not lose that sense of purpose that I spent all my time working and trying to prove to myself and everybody around me that I was, whether it be important or successful. And I probably didn't spend as much time with my family or my wife as I should have.
Do you now?
I try to. But no, I say that
good.
I'm not embarrassed to
really
say
good.
it. Yeah, I'm not embarrassed to say. It did create some tension and some hardships in my marriage because I was so militarized, and I probably spent too much time being infatuated and obsessed with what I was doing with the charity and trying to build a life outside of the military that. When we're in the military, we held ourselves to such a high level of expectation that we come out, we try to hold everybody else to that same level. And sometimes it's just not necessarily the right thing to do. A lot of people that didn't serve don't necessarily understand why you act or do this, or why you are the way you are. And that's something I had to teach myself, that civilians that didn't serve can't necessarily always understand. We can't expect them to understand why we're so passionate or the way we are, right? With our military, with the way we were. That's what the military taught us. So I had to learn that I couldn't hold everybody to the same expectation as myself.
Yeah, I think we all have that Chloe's not out yet, but when she gets out, she'll have it. But I think we all do that. We have these high expectations for ourselves, and we don't understand why other people don't kind of have the same thing.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it's because they didn't stamp their underwear.
All right. And I say that, but I hate to say this, but I know veterans and people that come out that don't have that either. I mean, I'm not saying 100% of every veteran is a gun hole, top notch. I mean, because there are some veterans out there that, I guess, what do we call them in the military? Dirtbags. So, it is what it is. But for me, my time in the military, what I learned and who I became as a person transitioned to civilian life. And then I didn't understand why so-and-so didn't want to work as hard as me, or so-and-so didn't want to put in the time and effort that I put in, or why they thought it was okay to show up late. Like, so yeah, you just got to teach yourself that not everybody was in the military, right? And everybody served and has that structure or that mindset. Then you kind of, as a leader and somebody who's in a leadership position, you kind of have to adapt and get to know everybody and try to use them to their strengths.
And hire somebody else to handle that for you.
Yeah.
Hire somebody else who's a little bit more, touchy-feely.
Yeah.
That's the best way to do it. That's what I did. I just hired people because I still have a high expectation. So.
Well, that's what I do too now. I'm like, I'm just gonna keep hiring people. I need all the help I can get. Good help is hard to find, so when you find it, you got to hang on to it.
Yeah, pay well.
Yep.
Overpay. Pay well.
You get paid last when you're the owner.
Right. That's so true. But that's okay because you want to invest in your people, and the right people will stay. Your company will grow from it, and it's that whole story. When you hire, I watch my wife with where she works. Basically, they can't get rid of somebody. It takes forever, right? They have all that whole thing. So for me, it's like hire very slowly, invest in the people that you can, find the right ones, and give them everything you can, and you keep them.
Their people are your biggest asset. My dad told me, he's like, people will be your biggest headache, but they're also your biggest asset. And I truly believe that they are your biggest asset. So I really, really try to show my appreciation for anybody that works, volunteers, helps me in any way. That's a big thing for me. I think people want to feel appreciated. Some people try to say they don't, but I think at the end of the day, we all want to feel appreciated for what we do.
And I think we all want to help our vets, right? Or people
Right.
active duty, whatever that is, where your passion is. The people who've been in, they want to help in a certain place. If there's anything I can do for you, Jimmy, let me know. To help you out. Okay.
Absolutely.
If I have anything you need, I can help out and try to get from our state because, I'm in California. It's one of the largest states. There's a lot of companies here, and I can help get you something if you need it. So let me know.
Okay.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And hopefully you'll come back, later on, tell us more about your story. Tell us, we'll see where your charities is in a year from now. We want to keep your story going. We want to help out vets. So any way we can help you, you let us know.
Okay. I'll keep in touch for sure. And thank you guys for having me on.
Don't run away. Did you have anything else, Chloe, you wanted to add before?
No, I can't speak for the entirety of the active duty population, but I appreciate everything that you and your charity and your team do. Because to me that definitely matters at the end of the day, right?
Right.
And we've all been in similar situations. So it's the only thing I had is just thanks for doing what you do.
I really appreciate that. I will pass the message on. And before I run off, make sure you guys follow Boots for Troops on Facebook because you can see a lot of the impact we're making.
And then also for us on, helping the brave, make sure if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you share, you like, subscribe, because we want to help out. We want to grow this. We want to get more people on, tell them what their stories are, tell them their transition, whatever it is they want to talk about. And I appreciate everybody being here today. Thank you. Jimmy, thank you so much for telling your story. And
You
stay
bet.
right there. All right. Anything else, Chloe? Say goodbye. All right.
Bye.
Until Thursday.